Prophet makes a plea to nation. Our divine and national movement stands for the specific grand principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And I, the prophet, am applying to all loyal, faithful Moors, members, and the American citizens to help me in my great uplifting acts of uplifting fallen humanity among the Asiatic race and nation. For I have suffered much and severely in the past through misunderstanding of what the movement was dedicated to. It is the great God Allah alone that guides the destiny of this divine and national movement. I know all true American citizens are identified by national descent names to answer and apply to the free national constitution of this free national republic of the United States of America. That's why I am calling on all true national citizens to help me morally and financially in my great work I am doing to help this national government. For without a free national name, without a descent flag of your forefathers, there is not a national divine title of the government in which we live. This is from your true and divine prophet unto all American and foreign sympathizers. Prophet Noble Ali, Islam. All right, so let's, Brother Brandon Bay, Islam. Happy Holy Day.
Islam, Morris. Islam.
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 No, brother.
Islam, brother.
Wait. They must be meant to read this too. That's all that means. Caveat emptor. Moors are men, upright, independent, and fearless, who care for their loved ones and follow the prophet to a destiny which is not uncertain or unknown. Noble Drew Ali. Since it went back to that page, I thought it must have been divine to read that. All right, let me cue the page back up. Oh, I got you back up in here. Okay, Islam.
My apologies.
Oh, that's all good. All right. So the relationship between Venus and the wampum belt. Any insight too, Alnor? I know you were reading this last night, so anything that you wanted to throw in there towards the end, just throw it in. The relationship between Venus and the wampum belt. Venus, the five-pointed green star, as we know in our flag, the star Venus, which represents love, feminine energy, and fertility, also stands as the symbol of the Moorish Almoroccan American flag. Each point representing the five nations and or 5 points of light, five principles, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, all connected resort back to us by Noble Drew Ali. Green represents the color of the star Venus and her alchemical metal copper. When copper is exposed to the elements, it experiences a series of chemical reactions that is a pale green outer layer called a patina. Prophet Noble Drew Ali is also responsible for restoring the chopped cherry tree, our Moroccan American flag, out of the hidden vaults of Washington. Hiawatha, which is the purple on the left, Hiawatha wampum belt studied the works of Prophet Diganawida, honoring Diganawida similar to Prophet Muhammad. He unified the separate confederations in his time. Hiawatha is known for the unification of the Iroquois Confederacy. The wampum represents that unification of peace among the five nations, Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, and Seneca. The color purple is associated with royalty, and white is purity. The white lines connecting each square represent unity. The spade shape or tree of peace in the middle represents the 5 confederations dropping their weapons and coming in peace. The Iroquois were responsible for helping father Europeans in forming the First Continental Congress, as well as drafting the American Constitution. Relate the middle tree of peace to the chopping down of the cherry tree as well. So we see the correspondence between both, right? The 5 nations or civilized tribes are truly Moorish titles of nobility codified. Ali, Al, Bey, Dey, and El. Also see the section marked in the House Resolution number 75. The European pseudo-colored scholars often try to portray us in history as savage, uncivilized people to cover up the fact that we civilized them and brought them into moral government and out of the Dark Ages. And as you can see, a parallel between our star, 5 points, and we have 5, and then like we just read, symbolizing peace, also corresponds to El, Bey, Ali, Al, and Dey. All right. Brother Sharif, Islam, happy Holy Day. So Ali, exalted and earned title. It is not self-assigned, nor is it given at birth. It is given for supreme courage, omnipotence, and accomplishment. El, usually given to women, creators of law, the legislative branch of government, Congress, the 7 Elo or Elohim, the creative planetary forces having an effect on the earth. Sun or Sunday or Domingo. Monday or Moon Day, Lunes. Tuesday, Mars or Martes. Wednesday, the day of Mercury, Miracoles. Thursday, the day of Jupiter, Jueves. Friday, of course, the holy day, the day of Venus, Viernes. The 7th day of the week, Saturn. The day of Saturn, Sabado. Bey, enforcers of law, obey the law, executive branch of government, dealing with governors, also sheriffs, sharifs, sheiks, sachem, sagamores, chiefs, Powhatans, and lords, all equivalent. Al, dealing with the masters of mathematics, geometry, psychology, and science. Dey, masters of astrology and cosmology, may also be used to signify governor. Have you ever questioned why it states that the United States can't grant titles of nobility in the Constitution? Because this is not their land. The heirs to the land, the Aboriginal people, are the only nobles of the land by birthright. Do you know what those titles are? They codify it by saying the 5 civilized tribes. They always try to portray us as barbarians and savages, yet if it weren't for the Iroquois Confederation, there would not have been a First Continental Congress, nor a Constitution. Those 5 titles of nobility are, and real quick, when y'all just look up the Continental Congress, the First Continental Congress, and the Second Continental Congress, you're going to see all these presidents during that time. There was no George Washington yet. All right. In the sense of a president, he was still a general, but there were presidents while he was a general. And most of those presidents at that time, highly melanated, right? Benjamin Banneker Bay, right? John Henson, a couple brothers to name a few. All right. Those 5 titles of nobility are Ali, Al, Bey, Dey, and El. Check the congressional record, Joint House Resolution 75, Prophet Diganowida name means, so his name means the two river currents flowing together, representing the flow of Kundalini energy in the body, activating the pineal gland or the sixth chakra. The same symbol used by hospitals today. And I find the whole two river currents flowing together interesting because, you know, our brother from Hindustan, I forgot the name that fast, but it's a community of Hindustanis. What's it called? Wasabi? I can't pronounce the name, but it stands for the five rivers. A lot of cultures' names are talking about rivers coming together or the unification. Okay, that's the dude's name. I can't think of the dude's name right now. Punjabi. That's what it's called. This portion of our Hindu brothers that identify as Punjabi. That means the five rivers. And as we can see, we got the stuff we know about the chakras, what they correspond to, the color scheme of each chakra. And that's why the purple was dealing with nobility, because it's dealing with the crown. Transitioning to a sequence of events of wars, just to put in context, because once again, you're gonna have people ask you, how did all this go down? You know, how did we get to the position we was in now, right? So further clarity, more stuff for the tool belt. So ancient Carthage war from 814 BC to 146 BC. The discussion of Moorish militarism begins distinctly with the ancient martial conflicts between Rome and Carthage. Moorish soldiers are mentioned as early as the expedition to Sicily in 406 BC. They are similarly mentioned in Levi's account of the Second Punic Wars, and that's a quote from the Golden Age of the Moor. So we'll see a timeline. Greco-Persian War, which led to the Sicilian War. And now remind you, keep in mind, all these people are melanated. All this is infighting. Don't look at this like we beefing with some modern Europeans. We're dealing with ancient mind frame of our people going to war with a modern mind frame. That's all. So when we saying Romans, we're not talking about pale people. All this is infighting. This whole list I'm about to run off. We got the Greco-Persian War, which transitioned to the Sicilian War, the Second Sicilian War, the Third Sicilian War, and then the First Punic War, the Treaty of Loatas, dealing with Hannibal's father. I don't know who's familiar with Hannibal Bay, but his father, Hamilcan. The Second Punic War led by Hannibal, which is his son, the Third Punic War. And when you say Punic, you're saying pretty much Phoenician, or the Phoenician Wars. That's what they're implying. The Mithridatic Wars, which transitioned to the Treaty of Darius, which transitioned to the Second Mithridatic War and the Third Mithridatic War. And once again, when you look up these wars independently on a Google search, go to images, you're gonna see everybody bleached out. Don't let that confuse you. Most people know this man as Jesus. Of course, we call him Yeshua ben Yosef, was born approximately 6 BC through 4 BC. Yeshua was crucified approximately 23 AD to 29 AD. Constantine becomes emperor shortly after. Constantine becomes the emperor of Rome. Constantine creates Christianity, quote unquote. And the reason is quote unquote, because we know prior to Constantinople, or the Constantine popes, were dealing with Krishna in the sense of the Hindu deity. So Christianity is really the activation of the Christ. But that's why it's quote unquote Christianity, because it's not really Christianity. It's really the Niceno Constantinopolitan Creed. right? After murdering Prophet Yeshua ben Yosef in 325 AD, the Roman Emperor Constantine called for the Council of Nicaea, which authorized the Roman clergy by vote to change Yeshua's name to Jesus, the Christ, representing the peace and justice Yeshua taught, because Jesus means justice, and the degree of knowledge or light activation of the pineal gland, like I just said, Krishna, the Christ degree, which is activation of the Jewel, right, where you get Jew, and also Tahuti, where you get Jew, which just simply means, one that knows knowledge, the illuminated one. He had reached for their pale skinned nations of Europe earthly salvation. So, of course, the Nicene Creed would be a short name of it. But the above image is a leaflet from the church located at St. Thomas Regional School, letting you know that the Nicene Creed is their creed. Some churches will bluntly just tell you that. Some will just say they're Christian, but in the background they know they, Constantine worshipers. But some just flat out say it. 330, the Roman Emperor Constantine creates New Rome, or the Byzantine Empire, right? When you watch, these series such as the Ottoman, you see Muhammad II going to war with the Byzantine emperors, right? The Constantines, Emperor Theodosius the first declared the Nicene Creed as the official religion of Rome. So this is 380. The foundation of Christianity began in Rome. Now we're reading a quote from the Holy Quran as cross-referencing. The foundation of Christianity began in Rome. The Roman nations founded the first church of whom crucified Jesus the Nazareth, or seeking to redeem his people under the Roman yoke and law. Jesus himself was the true blood of ancient Canaanites and Moabites and the ancients of Africa. Seeking to redeem his people in those days from the pressure of the pale-skinned nations of Europe, Rome crucified him according to their law. The European had peace for a long time until Muhammad I came upon the scene and fulfilled the works of Jesus of Nazareth, which we already explained in Yeshua ben Yosef. But of course, in the Circle 7, Noble Jew Ali was reaching our people where they were at. Baptist, Protestant, pork-eating people that know who Jesus were. They know Jesus, right? But we know as we just explained, his name is Yeshua ben Yosef. The holy teaching of Jesus to the common people to redeem them from under the great pressure of the hands of the unjust, that the rulers and the rich would not oppress the poor, also that the lion and the lamb may lay down together, and neither would be harmed when morning came. These teachings were not accepted by the rulers, neither by the rich, because they loved the principles of the Ten Commandments. Through the Ten Commandments, the rulers and the rich live, while the poor suffer and die. The lamb is the poor people. The lion is the rulers and the rich. And through love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, all men are one and equal to seek their own destiny and to worship under their own vine and fig tree, after the principles of the holy and divine laws of their forefathers. All nations of the earth in these modern days are seeking peace, but there is but one true and divine way that peace may be obtained in these days, and it is through love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice being taught universally to all nations. And that was once again a quote from chapter 26 of the Holy Quran, of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, dealing with the beginning of Christianity. Islam, to everybody that came in when I was reading, who came in here? Brother Sharif, that was it. If I missed anybody, Islam, and happy holy day. Oh yeah, Sharif Gamble Bay, Islam. Genealogy of Jesus, Abraham, Boaz, by Ruth. We know Ruth was a Moabitess, Jesse, King David, Solomon, Ezekiel, and Joseph by Mary. The Old Testament is translated out of Aramaic in 450. The first plans of the Vatican was around 500 AD. The Persian-Roman War, and once again, now we have another name, but don't let that trick you. It's still Moors. They're just calling our people Persian at this time, right? The Persian-Roman War, still infighting, 505 through 557. Following the Persian-Roman War, a time period of peace was reached, and the agreement stated that Rome would pay 30,000 in gold annually to the Persians. Transitioning to 628, dealing with the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, which was the unification of Islam. And that's when Islam became political boots on the ground. Moors led by Tariq ibn Ziyad entered into Al-Andalus, or now called Spain, by way of the Strait of Gibraltar, Jabal Tariq, or the Mountain of Tariq, and very easily defeated the Christian Crusaders under the authority of Roderick, king of the Visigoths. It is also known as the Umayyad conquest of Hispania in 711. Then we have the Battle of Tours, Poitiers in France. The Moorish seizure of Europe was countered by the Christian king Charles Martel, or Charles the Hammer, and the Moors were rerouted back into Spain, 732. So here's a visual of Moorish conquest of Spain from the period of 711 to 732. So we know that from 711 to 1492 we were there, but in the initial the early 700s, we have slight turbulence with this guy named Charles the Hammer. His nickname is the Moor Killer. Actually, he was one of the Romans' frontline people. All right, so Alfonso I, the Spanish king of Austria, Spain, from 739 to 757, launched a conquest against the Moorish Empire in the port city of Santander, the northwest city of Gallica, and Leon, which is in Spain, or Al-Andalus. Alfonso III, also known as Alfonso the Great, king of Austria, from 866 to 909, continued the wars against the Moors, as Alfonso I and the second before him did, as did Alfonso IV, V, and VI. So as we can see, this was a generational war, a lot of hatred, but once again, infighting. The European Renaissance, or rebirth out of the Dark Ages, is accredited to the Moors in Spain, over 700 years of teaching and ruling. 700 years of teaching and ruling. The rebirth took place around 13th century, reached its peak around the 16th century, and spread to the rest of Europe in the 17th century. The Almoravid, and this is the crew of Moors that was originally, like I think I was breaking this down a couple sessions ago, the Alamo in Texas. This clan of Moors were originally here in that area and traveled that way to Al-Andalus. The Almoravid Moors took control over Spain. The Almoravids were originally called the Moabites, meaning champions of the faith. They would often combat injustices such as forced taxation. This was around 1031. In 1062, the Moabites, or Almoravids, Moors, drove back the Christian powers. Yusuf I entered into Europe with a mixed army of men, Singhalese, Arabian, and Moorish brigades in efforts to defeat Alfonso VI with the mixed army of 70,000 men from kingdoms of Almeria, Badajoz, Granada, and Seville. That was around 1085. And the Christians captured Toledo, right? So it's starting to become a changing of the guard. They're starting to get some traction now. The empire is in jeopardy at this point. Yusuf ibn Hashifin, leader of the Moroccan Almoravid Empire, stops Alfonso VI. He also known as the co-founder of Marrakesh, along with Abu Abdullah al-Queen Bi'Amrillah. This is around 1086. So 1095, we're dealing with the Pope Urban II, and that's when the first crusade against the Moors started, in the sense of calling it a crusade, right? So now you see it's a pope now. Prior to that, it was an emperor, right? Constantine was an emperor of Rome. Now we have a pope. Papal bulls, first Christian crusade. Moors began to follow the idol gods of Europe due to European indoctrination to the dogmatic principles of the Nicene Creed, guised as Christianity. This assisted in the divide and conquer tools to win wars against our people. Converted Moors often used as infiltrators, spies, and betray their fellow Moors, forgetting of the one true universal God Allah, honoring not their brother and sister for the promises Rome had to offer, leading to the trickled decline of the Moorish Empire. Right, so you see the decline happening. Now we're getting to the founding of the Knights Templar, right, which is today Masonic organizations, but back then these were militaries. So the Unidentum Optimum. Pope Innocent II endorses the Knights Templar and promises ownership of all Moorish territories conquered by them, while exempting them from tithes.
Knights was back in the day too.
Right, so the Pope enlists the Knights Templars as their foot soldiers. You know, you don't got to play ties, just conquer the Moorish territories. You know, even promise them ownership of the lands that they conquer, right? This is all context. See this shit. Oh, man. Right, so I don't know who. This is crazy, bro. As you can see, this keeps happening. But you see the time.
You should probably open it in Google Docs instead of on the actual email, because every time you do hit back on that side screen, it's going to take you out of there.
Yeah, man, this is crazy. All right. Bro, got some heat up in here. All right. So Pope Innocent III, I'm sorry. Pope Eugene II orders the Second Crusade around 1145. Yaqub ibn Yusuf, also known as Al-Mansur, ruled Morocco from 1149 through 1189, invaded Al-Andalus twice, and is known as one of the biggest Moorish rulers in Spain. After 1147, Mahdi and the Alamo Moors, Unitarians, began to take control over the Moorish Empire. The Almoravid Moors' control over Spain slowly trickled, and by 1173, it was replaced by the Almohad Moors. Just like that, just like with any shift in power, the Almohad Moors began to make major changes and enhancements to Moorish Spain. Getting into Pope Gregory VIII, he orders the Third Crusade against the Moors in around 1187. And then Pope Innocent III orders the Fourth Crusade around 1199. Moors, or the Yiddish Moors, were required to pay tithes on land taken from them by the Christian Crusades. So around 1207. Christian victory of Navas de Tolosa, led by the Christian King Alfonso VIII, conjoined with kings of Aragon and Portugal, is one of the most important turning points in the reconquest of Al-Andalus by the Europeans. 1213, we're getting into the secret Treaty of Verona, issued by King John of England, submitted his kingdom to the authority of the Pope, right? So now this is where, as you can see, the Pope is starting to pop up heavy now, right? They're doing a reconsolidation, and there's no longer an emperor. We're dealing with a Pope. And all the Christian kingdoms consolidated themselves in what you call the Holy Roman Empire, centralizing everything through the Pope. Pope Innocent II ordered the Fifth Crusade, 1213. Pope Honorius III closed all law schools and forbid the study of law. So you see how they had to shut down the law? Because that blurs the lines. Even today. Still see this in play today. They don't want you to know that law as it pertains to nationality, or jurisprudence rather. You got the Licet Capindos, issued by Pope Gregory IX, orders the Inquisition by the church. So here come the Inquisition to rule the church, though. That's why when all lands are colonized, they have brainwashing academies or schools for you to go to further disconnect you from the root. This was the beginning of that. The Bull of Rieti, issued by Pope Gregory, issues the church bulla Pieti Proximum, which confirms the German order of Kurmerlin and recognizing any land conquered by them, Teutonic Knights in Prussia, as well as placing those unwilling to convert to Christianity or Catholicism, known as heretics, or one who practices heresy, which is essentially a free thinker. Anybody practicing being a free thinker, you're going against the Pope. As ownership by them, as long as they answer exclusively to the sovereignty of the Pope. See Verasont. Pope Gregory orders the seizure and examination of the Ibri, Yiddish writings, to include the Talmud. So the Yiddish, they Moors, the Ibri, most people would just say Hebrew today, but in its most ancient pronunciation, we don't know what Ibri, Jewish Moors. The foundations of Jewish, or the Ibri law, lie in the Torah, the first 5 books of the Hebrew or Ibri Bible, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. See a question in the chat. Right. Yeah, these people were wicked just for abolishing law, right? Quasicoda. Yeah. All right. So all of our writings was banned, right? Gregory orders all Yiddish books to be seized around 1240. Pope Innocent IV orders the Talmud to be burned. These is one of our holy books. Around 1244. Pope Innocent IV refuses synagogues to be built in the city of Cordoba. Right? They're trying to shut down our buildings. Because remember, all the Moorish architecture, they didn't turn to the churches by this time, but they didn't want nothing else being new built. So by 1252, Pope Innocent IV authorizes torture during the Inquisition. Around 1253, Pope IV expels the Ibri Yiddish Moors from Vienna, France. Right, so if they're being expelled from France, that means who's the original French? The Moors, right? The Yiddish Moors, the Hebrew Moors. We're the original occupants of France. Pope Nicholas IV authorized the Franciscan Inquisition against the Yiddish Moors of Bosnia in 1291. And when you're dealing with Franciscan, you know, you're dealing with Inquisition order. So when you hear San Francisco, you know what type of tip that's on. And every time you hear San anything, it's just saying saint. So that's Saint Francisco, Saint Diego, right? Pope Nicholas IV authorized Franciscan Inquisition against the Yiddish Moors, 1291. The Moors ignited Renaissance. It began in Italy in the 1300s. So it was an attempt to bounce back. In fact, in Europe today, they still wear cotton wigs. Cotton wigs represent the woolly hair of the Moors, even here in America. The Republican Party used to be named the Whigamore or Whigamore Party, giving honor to our woolly hair, as we are the ones who taught the Europeans science of positive law. Right, we got the woolly hair, and you see an attempt at the woolly hair. And I know we all seen this in school, and we never really comprehend why they wearing these wigs, right? We'd be in history class and like, man, why they got these wigs on? But lo and behold, they mocking the sovereigns of the land. Lo and behold, right?
It looks like a pharaoh's wig.
you right? You know what I mean? So
If you watch, because you know, when I was young, my family was in the church heavy. They always used to play biblical, you know, little cartoon movies. And I remember I would always watch that movie, Prince of Egypt. And in that movie, Moses, he would wear his wig, and his brother, which was the heir to the throne of Pharaoh, he would wear the little tail. And the cultura, they call it tlashli, which is the little, what's it called? The ponytail. And it's a representation, like, more or less of, he got the master teachings from the grandmothers.
right.
So pretty much, I mean, well, now, you know, what I'm learning with, you know, Drew Ali and everything, I could connect the dots with, you know, it's like also symbolic of the little tassel, you know,
Yeah.
on the fez.
Yeah. And you see, you mentioned about the women, you know, coming through the women. That's a common theme you're gonna come across. I think everybody here should read the Iroquois even though it's a corruption, the
Yeah.
Iroquois Federation Constitution. You read that whole Constitution, you're gonna see the role that the mothers played. You know,
Yep, the Anasazis.
yeah. You know, the women crowned the chieftains, right? All right, so Whiggamore Party, the Whig Party. So here's an excerpt from the Golden Age of the Moors by Ivan van Sertima. Quote, the 700 years during which the Moors dominated the Iberian Peninsula was an era in which many Europeans came into North Africa in states of servitude. The Muslims or Moors brought millions of European slaves over to North African ports of Sao, Tangier, Algiers, Tunis, Tripoli, Fez, and Marrakesh, and some northern Egyptian towns. This is what eventually made many North Africans appear different from sub-Saharan Africans. Due to the amalgamation over the years, the skin complexion became lighter, etc. Moors' occupation of Iberia did not just bring remarkable things in Europe, they founded and constructed many industrious and prosperous towns all over North Africa and as far south as Timbuktu. The ruins of their many castles can be seen as much in Northern Africa as in Al-Andalus. The rest of Africa, from Egypt through the Fezzan and West Sahara to what is now called Morocco and Algeria, were populated by Africans, also called Moors. These are references from the Golden Age of the Moor. More references, page 6 of that book. The early Christians also used Saracen indiscriminately to cover both Moors as well as the other Muslim population in general. Over the many years of our ancestors' rule over Europe, as many scholars will reference, we began to fight amongst ourselves for the ultimate rulership of the area, which inevitably ended in our downfall in 1492. Although we fought amongst each other, you will read in history that our many tribes within the empire unified at severe crisis and fought against the rebelling pale-skinned Albion Europeans. Rivalry between the power groups, between Moors, Berbers, Arabs, Persians, and Turks, all of which are the same people. All of which are the same people. Okay, somebody got it. Right. Due to Moors into Europe came the advances of an empire more than those of either Alexander the Great or Rome at its highest. The popularity of Moorish scholars was such that for centuries, Arabic was commonly accepted as the language of scholars from Europe, Asia, and Africa. Moorish Spain was very unique among Islamic nations. Women enjoyed more societal freedom than in any part of the Islamic world. They moved freely in public and engaged in various gatherings. So, you know, a lot of people I've come across, they'd be like, are you Muslim? And things like that. And they'll draw conclusions that are based on most Muslims today, the Sunni Shiite, you know, they had their women all covered up and they play a very submissive role, but that's not original Muslim culture, right? So FYI.
Facts.
A curious schizophrenia developed among Catholics in relation to Moorish science. On the one hand, they were very much aware of the superior knowledge of the Moors, and they made efforts to acquire the knowledge so that they would not be left behind. At the same time, They strove desperately to keep it away from the common people, and even at times to vilify it so that it would not become a challenge to Catholicism. Right? So the higher ups of Catholicism, they felt it was imperative to know more science. But at the same time, kept it away from the people, created secret societies. This was the beginning of that whole philosophy, right? They were afraid that the Enlightenment, the new ideas that this knowledge would bring could affect the populace, so that even though they were given the keys to inner sanctum, they kept the cage closed to the masses. Tactics of hiding, suppressing, omitting, and watering down information are still in practice today. Evidence of this is the existence of the secret societies: Illuminati, Knights of Columbus, Knights of Malta, Eastern Stars, DAR, or Daughters of American Revolution, Freemasonry, KKK, Thule Society, Shriners, York Rite, Scottish Rite, Royal Arch, Red Cross of Constantine, Prince Hall, etc., and others. So you see the Red Cross of Constantine as an order. And we just went through the historical timeline of how basically all the Muhammad's was going to war with Constantine. Now today it's a Masonic organization. If you continue to read more history, you will find that the European Inquisition, defined by French historian Jean-Baptiste Giraud, is, quote, a system of repressed means, some of temporal and some others of spiritual kind, concurrently issued by ecclesiastical and civil authorities, and has always been a civil and religious agenda perpetuated by Europeans, sometimes politically called Christians, to suppress, defeat, and control of the Moorish Empire. Our empire extends from Egypt, Northeast, and Southwest Africa, across the Atlantic Ocean, unto the present-day North, South, Central America, including Mexico and the Atlantis Islands, or known today as the Caribbean, or the Carib Moors. Now we in 1300s. Pope Benefice VIII declares there is no salvation outside the church, that the church must remain unified, and the dogmatic propositions that belong to the church are necessary for extra salvation, and the position of the Pope is the supreme head of all churches, while also asserting authority over the King of England, claiming his power is temporal and the church power more divine. By this time, the church had been operating as a sovereign power for about 90 years and had more support and finance from the people who thought their only salvation was the clergy. So the king had no choice but to accept the proposition made by the clergy. All right, so you see how the Pope is rising to power, the structure of the Vatican today starting to get created. The Pope reconstituted the Knights Templar as the Order of Christ, Militia Order of Christ, Portuguese Order of Christ. So all those are the Knights Templar. You hear the Militia Order of Christ, the Order of Christ, Portuguese Order of Christ. All those are Templars. San Charissimus Martin V, after capturing Ceuta in Al-Andalus, or Moorish Spain, called John I of Portugal for support and his continued efforts to drive the Moors out of Spain, 1418. Pope Eugene V forced all Yiddish Moors into ghettos. Now, keep this in mind, these are the Jews that are getting expelled, the Moors, the Jews. The Jews are the Moors getting expelled, forced into ghettos, forbidding any Christian to eat, drink, live, or bathe with any Moor not converted to Christianity. And on December 9th, he issued Illus Quisi Pro Divini, a crusade against the Moors or Saracens in Portugal, 1442. Pope Nicholas V prevents intermarrying with the Moors, Muslims, Saracens, or Yiddish Jews in 1451. Transitioning to the Dum Diversas that was issued by Pope Nicholas V, authorized Alfonso V of Portugal to reduce any Moor who would not convert and any other unbelievers to perpetual servitude. So you see the Pope is controlling the kings of Europe now. The Pope is controlling the politics through the gateway of the king. Quote, we grant you, kings of Spain and Portugal, by these present documents with our apostolic authority, full and free permission to invade, search out, capture, and subjugate the Saracens and pagans and any other unbelievers and enemies of Christ, wherever they may be, as well as their kingdoms, duchies, counties, principalities, and other property, and to reduce their persons into perpetual servitude. I think I'm gonna stop right there, because now we're getting into, whoever watched the Ottoman, we're getting into that space now. And I'll break that up into next time. So let's open the floor for some thoughts. Especially for the ones that this is new to. You know. Brother Salim Supreme, you got any thoughts? Anything you wanted to add?
Islam. And happy holiday to all y'all. And I love our Quetzalcoatl, man. He cold. Hey, I love you more. That's a cold more, man. He be dropping good. He be dropping good info, and he in that lower mixing part, like, yeah, it's powerful. Would it be on? Much respect to Quetzalcoatl, man. I love that we can do this. Like my mom, my grandmother, they from South Central, they from Los Angeles, so from West Coast, I'm connected with the Khalifa energy here in Houston, Texas, man. And to be able to tap in overseas like a Kush Day, you know, Moore's the Rising One, to tap in with people just like that, man. And y'all got this incredible energy. Y'all be popping these light bulbs and these info lightning bolts, lightning strikes. Like, yeah, this really excites me. I really love it. So shout out Quetzalcoatl, man. Yeah, it's good to see him in here. It's good to see all y'all, like, from everywhere. Yeah, like Miss Charissa, something like she from, like, maybe the boot. Like, it's good. It's really like my daughters. They families from Louisiana, so it's good to have this energy and this knowledge and this unity that connects all of us from far away, and it makes us real close, man. So yeah, and you see, I got my yeah, I'm there. Like, I went through this book like twice, and it just blew my mind. So I was so excited because I used to try to give little parts to different people I knew, certain Moors I'm trying to enlighten. So to be able to do this and have you just pop out, and it's like, oh, we got a group where we could talk about, like, oh yeah, it don't get no better than this. You know, so I was telling my grandma, I'm like, I put on the Holy Quran, like, nah, grandma, you need to get on. I'm putting grandma, so I'm gonna go back to the church. I gotta put y'all on this Holy Quran. I gotta put y'all on this science, this real Islam master, not what y'all think of Islam, but nah. So I'm just excited about all this, man. Islam, happy holy day to everybody.
Islam, bro.
Hey, I love all
Yeah, I
y'all.
appreciate you.
Mm-hmm. Go. Yes, go ahead.
No, I was
Hey,
saying Islam.
that's my boy. Hey, Islam. Hey, I like this. Hey, I like that. I need to find myself where he stay. I'm gonna be over there back doing the Sheik and Khalifa Society. I'm gonna be back doing quiz. I'm gonna be where y'all at, and y'all free to come where I'm at. I'm in Houston, Texas. Y'all
you
come.
in Houston? Hey, my grandma stay out there.
Hey, tell grandma I'm here. I'm gonna pull up. You gonna go to grandma's house? I'm pulling up on you, man. Hey, I love y'all, man. Toledo, man. Brandon Bay, Al Noor, Jerry Blaze with the hey, money. I got y'all, man. Let's get it. I'm ready. I'm every week. Hey, I'm ready. Let's get it. I've been waiting for this, man. I got too many books. So let's go. Islam. Happy holiday, man.
Wow.
brother. Good energy, man. That's
Brother Islam.
Islam.
Islam, brother.
Brother Sharif Gamble, man. Islam, man. How you doing, man?
Islam, brother. Peace. I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good, man. Good to see you, man. I'm glad you tapped in, man. Yeah, I know you want to introduce yourself. Talk to the Moors, man. It's holy day season, man.
Nah, I ain't got too much to say, man. Just soaking it in, Good
Hey,
little-
happy holiday to everybody.
Happy holiday, everybody.
Happy
Yeah.
holiday.
You got books over there.
Happy holiday, yes indeed. RB Bay. Man, it's crazy because I done gave away so many books. That's the crazy part. I gave away, I be giving away books and I be mad. I'm like, oh, so I gotta go rebuy them again. So yeah, RB Bay know me. They know me more. Hey, 5 years ago, I beat my case in Cali, came back. It's 6 years. My son represent the full extent of my more science. Like he is that. So 6 years in, I've been looking for all y'all, man. Let's go. I'm in H-Town. I'm ready.
I know.
Hey,
That's wow. That's wow.
Hey, you're gonna have to chop and screw some of the Khalifa Society tapes. Put
hey,
them
I'm
on.
already
No, I'm
ready,
playing.
y'all. That's not really about. I don't do music. That's already in my head. I got a song called Aki. Y'all gonna love this. I got crazy Moorish music coming. Y'all gonna lose your mind. We finna mix all it together. I got y'all. I'm already ahead. Everything's already in motion with that. We gonna just hit me in the we gonna make that happen. ASAP Rocky. I got y'all. Hey.
Wow.
Shout to School Khalifa Society on the way. Hold on. In the South. Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Hey,
Man.
just like DJ Screw and them was doing it back then, uniting everything, and one thing led to another, and them boys are gone now.
True. Facts.
Yeah,
South Park Mexican was a major entity out here. He was so powerful. They still got him in there because he powerful, man.
That's what I'm saying. He
Bro,
was linked up
South
with
Park
DJ
Mexican
Screw and
was
them.
and he was spiritual, and he was conscious and spiritual, and he was hard. On some hook, bro, he was too powerful. He's almost powerful than Lil Wayne, almost powerful than 50, bro. They still got him in here. He like Larry Hoover or something, and Larry Hoover and Tejas or something. Come on, stop playing. Islam.
wow, man. Imani Elijah, Islam, man. How you doing over there, man?
What's going down, man?
How you feeling, man? I got your ID ready too for Sunday, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm be there to pick it up, man.
Sorry, man.
Be there to pick it up, man. I got a couple ideas for the game. I'm gonna wait till Sunday. To throw them at you, man. I've been stewing on some stuff, man. I've been trying to go through this curriculum, go through this book. You hear me? But I'm like, yo, I don't know. I feel like I got a good idea that, like, when it comes to onboarding for new Moors, we can get them in, and you know what I'm saying? Like, kind of like, I don't know. When it comes to learning, it like step it out for them. You know what I mean? Just like I put it in better terms on Sunday. But yeah, I feel like I got some moves to make, man. But Islam, everybody. Happy holy day. Good to see y'all.
Happy holiday, Noble. Islam.
Sir.
Yamila L. Islam. How you doing over there? She might.
Pimp C, the rapper from UGK, he was uniting people too, and then they say he overdosed, but a lot of people call it, he was straight edge. He was a family man by that time, so a lot of people were BS. Somebody murked them.
Wait, who you talking about? Pimp C? Or who'd you say? From where?
Uniting all the people too, all the rappers, all the hitters, all the hoods. He was uniting everybody.
Oh, Nipsey?
Who you talking about? Noble? Yeah, Pimp C was up there. UGK was up.
Mm-hmm.
SPM is cool, but you know what he's kind of trips me out.
Pimp C did it off of
Hey.
love, off of truth. He was just telling the truth, and he showed love. He did it off of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. That's how he was talking about, and that's why he was winning. He did it out the principles.
Hey, at the end of the day, they be hating on anyone for any little thing. If you really doing something out here, you know, people. For example, they got dudes like what's his name,
Nuh-uh.
Elvis Presley, and all these other people,
Huh?
and they still praise them to this day, and they're, you know,
Oh, okay, yeah.
the same kind of cases and the same kind of things, but they still praise them to